Players have been in denial of the Drake Interplanetary Ironclad all year, which isn't too surprising. It's got space for 1500 SCU of storage, a vehicle garage, and a detachable command module that can fly as its own ship. But none of those are the reasons why players have been denying reality in the face of this ship. It's one of the most talked about ships currently in development in Star Citizen, even though it's not coming out this year. And today we're going to look at what's got players so hyped, what makes this ship so different, and why its development's been throwing folks for a loop since the start of 2025. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. Back in May of 2024, this ship was revealed with arguably the fanciest trailer I've ever seen for what was basically a picture. The background moved, the clips, they had audio. It was clear this was a big moment for CIG, and honestly, it was kind of the right call. The Ironclad elicits the kind of reaction from grown space dads you'd usually associate with the 2014 Justin Bieber concert. The Fatterpillar, the Iron Chad, the Super Cat. It instantly became a fan favorite and the poster child for what a grounded, believable, large cargo hauler should look like in the Star Citizen that's finally taking shape. Since the reveal, players have spent 18 months speculating when it'll release and how far its features might go, because the Ironclad isn't just another big space box. It's a pretty fully featured space box. Let's start with the cargo bay. One of the biggest frustrations with logistics in Star Citizen is how physically loading things can be a nightmare. You need the right box for the job, the right ship for the box, and too often the ship's entrance just doesn't cooperate. Then comes the Ironclad, which literally opens its entire cargo bay from the top. Whether you're hauling weapons, vehicles, or commodities, you can just drop them straight in, something that'll be especially handy in 0G. You've still got the classic front ramp, of course, but that top door alone kinda changes everything. To help move all that cargo, it's also fitted with mounted tractor beams, allowing players on foot and on board to coordinate like a proper ground crew. Those are operated from a dedicated command deck, not the flight deck, so that somebody can oversee the whole operation from above. A small touch, but one that shows how focused this ship is on functionality and teamwork. There are also multiple entry points for easier access to the ship and an interior turret to protect the ship without putting your fragile meaty body on the line. But the real standouts, some of the most unique but mysterious ship features we've seen yet, are the secure lockers and the command module. First, those lockers. Security is going to matter more and more as Star Citizen evolves. Locking up your valuables in secure places will eventually be key in most dangerous systems. Even if somebody does have access to your ship for whatever reason, lawful or unlawful, storage like this is going to keep your absolute most valuable goods safer than in other ships, and probably leave you much more comfortable with visitors on board, even if you do trust them. We don't yet know how damage or power loss will affect these secure lockers, but the feature itself does hint at deeper cargo gameplay and possibly smuggling, and players love that. Then there's the command module. Officially, it's not another ship, but unofficially it is. This detachable cockpit can fly independently of the rest of the ship, equipped with its own thrusters, life support, tractor beam, and even, I kid you not, a quantum drive. That means you can leave the main ship parked in orbit while you take this module down to a planet for contracts or errands, or you can live out of the module running missions while the Ironclad acts as your floating fortress, a home base wherever you like that has its own life support, shields, turret defenses, and power still active. It's a pretty ambitious idea, with work currently scheduled through February 26th on the feature itself. The dev note states that it introduces the concept of vehicles taking control from other host ships, primarily like the Caterpillar, meaning that this system will likely tie into multiple ship types throughout the production of Star Citizen, including some we probably don't know about. But think like the Crucible, which we're still waiting for. Speaking of other ships, after the unveiling of the manufacturer behind these chopped up ship inventions that we've been seeing over the years in various videos, and the confirmation that players will have access to these ships, the likelihood that this silhouette from last year's CitizenCon is actually just one of these command modules with some wings and landing gear attached coming from Grays just went up a lot. Taken together though, these features are compelling for any wannabe large-scale deep space hauler, but the fact that they are on a Drake ship makes this a must-have for a lot of people. Drake is probably in the top 3 most characterful manufacturers in the game. Their own ship's rickety flavor of future corporatocratic spaceship creation vibes with a lot of people. And when the Ironclad releases, it'll likely be one of the most detailed ships ever made in a video game and one of CIG's biggest funding months ever. And that's where the denial's gonna come in. But before we get too deep into that, let's talk a bit more about what this actually represents for the game in terms of gameplay and the game's shift to industrial. Earlier this year, I focused on the vanity phase Star Citizen was allowing players to step into with in-game rewards, rule of cool, and marketing focused on content and spectacle. But the Ironclad actually represents the opposite. This is a machine of functionality and features. After the Hull C forced the team to figure out complex physics grids on ships, and the Retaliator made modularity a reality for admittedly a small number of ships, the command module on the Ironclad is a pretty big feature coming to the game. With crafting hitting players' hands for testing in the next few months, base building still deep in development, resource distribution getting a major change from Planetech V5, resource quality being introduced, and the more industrial-focused Nyx system landing next month, there are actually a lot of reasons that industrial gameplay should be taking some significant and much-needed steps forward over the next year. I think the Ironclad's going to be caught up all in the middle of that due to its unique capabilities and features, as well as likely a focus on engineering in larger ships. At the same time, we saw CitizenCon Direct. We know that the focus is still on Squadron 42 and on content delivery, but the use of the tech preview channel is a wild card they may actually start using next year, which would mean easier feature additions to the game. All in all, the Ironclad is a very good-looking, functional, and logistically impressive shift that represents what a lot of people love about Star Citizen very well. It's coming to a game sooner than many expected, and it acts as the torchbearer for the even more impressive Kraken that will be built off of many of the same assets. Compared to something like a Crusader C2, it's clearly built much more with the realities of Star Citizen in mind, at a time when they are actually starting to matter. But it is 100% not coming out this year. To be honest, I even thought at one point this ship could release by the end of the year, up until around July. It would have been a huge hit at this year's IAE, but CIG probably only wants there to be one big star per event. But it wasn't until the command module feature was added to the progress tracker earlier in August, with work scheduled out until 2026, that it became very clear to everyone that they were going to be taking their time on this. I mean, the continuation of the white box phase and monthly reports throughout the summer was kind of a big giveaway, but you'd have to watch my video describing the process of making these ships to fully get what the white box phase was telling us. Not really, but I got a plug. I say all this, but we are still going over the possibility of the Ironclad releasing on my stream at times, because people must have it, and sometimes just deny the reality. The possibility that it releases without the command module functionality, just like the Caterpillar did, is definitely still there. But as of September, they are still in the white box. It's simply not happening. The upcoming October monthly report would be the nail in the coffin, but I think it's pretty clear. To put it into perspective, the Perseus, which we know is coming at IAE in November, was getting its final art touch-ups at the same time this was in white box, 3 whole steps of development behind it. And it's been like this all year. Back in Q1 of the year, most folks, myself included, were theorizing of an IAE release, but many folks were still very hopeful for a release in the next 2 to 3 months, despite the ship only showing up in one monthly report in November and December, and then not again after. Don't hurt yourself like this. It'll become pretty obvious when a known ship is within a few months of delivering. And I think we've still got a good 6 months left on this one. But that wasn't the only instance of denial throughout the year. We continued on into Q3 as the Ironclad showed up in more monthly reports throughout the summer continuously. While it was working its way through white box month after month, some still held on to the possibility of an IAE release just 3 months later in November. We all succumbed to the hype. I personally track the ship development of the whole game every month, live with chat on our monthly report streams. It's fun to guess at and follow along, but never go full cope on a ship release. Just let them happen. Things usually are going to end up happening later than any of us think. And in the meantime, support your peers. Gather around. Get together. The Ironclad loyal among us, they're not faring very well. Denial may only be a river in Africa, but the Ironclad is not releasing at IAE. With that being said, it isn't exactly a paradigm shift for Star Citizen either. This isn't going to be a game changer or anything, but it represents a lot of what Star Citizen is to a lot of people. While it's sure to be an impressive ship on its own when it releases, I do think that CIG needs to try and meet this moment with cargo hauling, logistics, and NICs 7 months from now when it does release. Secure storage, engineering gameplay, a reason to haul large quantities of commodities, and to go that extra step, a mission that uses this ship's interior. But that's a bit of a wish list. What we do know about this ship is that it's a very important release for a lot of people, and will likely be getting a lot of love along with the assault combat focused variant over the next several months. Yeah, sometimes the development pipeline can be a bit confusing, and the hype around ships can have folks in denial of the obvious signs. But I'd keep an eye on this one. It's bound to make a big splash when it releases, likely in May at Drake DefenseCon. I do think most of us have landed on that as the likely release at this point. Until, of course, it's still in Grey Box in March and then we all kick the can further down the road. But hey, think about what's going to follow up afterwards. If a box with a hangar in a garage can cause this much chaos, imagine what happens when the Kraken lands. Thank you for watching this video till the end. I hope you enjoyed it and consider subscribing to this channel for more. I hope you learned something new in this video, and I'll catch you in the next.